Hey there. These books I'm sharing today are actually written by different authors, but they are all by the same illustrator. And in some cases, she did write the book too. But the illustrator is Melissa Sweet. I found her because she wrote the Balloons Over Broadway book, which is a really cute story about how the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade began. And I looked to see if she had more books at the library, and I found this whole stack, which is really great selection. So this one she wrote herself. That's a biography about E.B. White, who wrote Charlotte's Web and Stuart Little. And so it's kind of, and she's put her artwork and stuff into it. So that's a fun little read. And then this one was actually in the Exploring Nature curriculum as a book to read about winter birds. And it's about John James Audubon, and tells the story of him growing up and really loving to watch the birds, and how he used some silver thread to tie onto them to see where they went when it was winter. So this is a fun one, and it's actually by Jacqueline Davies, but illustrated by Melissa Sweet. This one is about, it's Rosé. So Rosé's thesaurus, the guy who wrote it. And that's a really cool story about a guy in, I think the 1800s? No, he was born in 1779. And so, mostly the 1800s. And he made lists as a kid growing up, and just made lists and lists of words, and words that, all kind of meant the same thing. And then eventually he went to medical school, and he was just very knowledgeable about a lot of different things. And then got married and published his book quite later on in his life. He was already in his 60s, I believe. So, but that was a cool book, and it's got a whole list of, oh look, it's even got John James Audubon when he first published his book about American birds. Anyway, so this was a neat book. And then this is another book illustrated by Melissa Sweet about William Carlos Williams, who was a poet who grew up in New Jersey and also went to medical school, but then he worked on poetry in his spare time and didn't really become a popular poet until he was in his 60s. But I guess he's studied a lot in schools now. Then this was a neat one about an artist named Horace Pippin, and very good artist, grew up in a big family. I think this was in the 1800s. 1888. And he loved to draw, took on lots of odd jobs and things, and then he ended up going into World War I, but he got injured, and so when he was done, he couldn't draw anymore. It was too painful for his arm, but then he taught himself how to draw by holding his right hand with his left, and so he was able to continue making art. And so he's made a lot of different art pieces, and at first they weren't very popular, but they became more popular as time went on, and so that was a really neat picture or book about him and his life. And then another neat book that Melissa Sweet illustrated is called Brave Girl, about Clara and the shirt. Does it say the shirtwaist makers strike? So about all of the women who were, working in the, she came over as an immigrant, and her father couldn't get any work, but she could get work as, making different clothing and stuff. And shows how they were so packed into this factory, with no rights at all, really, just poor working conditions and everything, and how she was one of the first to really kind of lead the other women together into forming a union, and also into just striking and making, picket lines and stuff. So, so this was a really neat book about her life and everything too. So these are, again, all by different authors, but they are all illustrated by Melissa Sweet. So you could go find them that way. So hope you enjoy.